Welcome to Bestseller TV. I'm Taryn Brill. We're here with Shep Hyken. He's the best-selling author of Amaze, Every Customer, Every Time. 52 tools, count them, 52 tools for delivering the most amazing customer service on the planet. Good to have you here, Shep.
It is great to be here, an honor, a pleasure.
Thanks
Flattered.
for joining us.
Nice to see you, Taryn.
Go on. So first things first, we should say this isn't your first foray into the customer service book business. This is your fifth book. How is this one different from the other four?
Well, every one of them is built. From the very first one, which was written actually in the late 1980s, going into the early 90s, was Moments of Magic. Title of the book and a theme throughout all of my teachings and trainings and speeches and books on customer service. And every time I write a new book, the idea is what's happened over the last couple of years that I've written about, seen, explored, observed, that can go into a new book, new publication.
What I find interesting is you don't deny the fact that this is not a book to be read.
Correct.
What did you mean by that?
It's a book to be used. As a matter of fact, if you want to start, if you're one of those people that like to start at the beginning and end at the end, perfect. I love you. However, some of you just open up and something catches your eye randomly. There's 52 tools. Now, I believe that all 52 tools in the book, they're tactics and strategies to deliver great and amazing service. Every one of those could be applied to virtually any job in any industry. Sometimes it takes a little bit more creativity and thought by the person, although it's very easy for me because I live this. But you go through, you find two or three that you like, and even if you find just one idea that you like in a book, any book that you pick up and read, it pays for itself exponentially.
Right, and it's one more than you had before you picked up the book. So there you go. We'll get to a few of the 50 tools in a moment.
Great.
But you say in the book that all transformations in terms of customer amazement need a role model. And in this book, you highlight Ace Hardware.
I do.
What is it about Ace that's so impressive?
Isn't that interesting? A hardware store. What can they teach us about customer service?
I was shocked, to be honest.
Well, here's why. Number one, as of today, 7 years in a row, they've won the J.D. Power Award for customer service in their industry. That's pretty impressive. They go up against companies like Lowe's and Home Depot, Menards, and other major chains in big box stores. And here are these Ace Hardware stores. They're independently owned. They're entrepreneurial in nature. They're much smaller. Sometimes they're 1/10 the size of the Home Depot that goes up less than a block away, yet they survive. And how do they do it? Well, they do it with customer service and creating an experience that the customer can get from them that they might not be able to get at their competitors. So another reason I chose them is that I believe that Ace Hardware is an example of everybody, meaning they're a small entrepreneurial business, individually owned stores, a dealer, a family-owned store. Perhaps there's a chain. Maybe somebody has done well and buys 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one particular chain in the Midwest that has 80 stores. That's a lot of stores. And they're a multi-billion-dollar company out of Chicago. So they're everybody. And they have put together an incredible program that delivers service. Matter of fact, Businessweek did a survey. They said that Ace, out of the top 25 brands in customer service in the world, Ace was number 10. And amazingly, they beat out the Ritz-Carlton, who was number 12.
Well, they must be doing something right. And Ace is the place.
The helpful hardware place.
That too.
And by the way, that word helpful is very important. That's the word that differentiates them from everyone else. If you walk into a Home Depot, they give you very nice customer service. They're very friendly. You walk in, hey, I need this. They tell you where it is.
They're homey.
Right. And if you walk into an Ace Hardware store and you say, and they ask you, what can I help you find today? They'll tell you, and then they'll take you there. And on the way, they'll ask you, so what are you using this for? Let me make a suggestion that might save you money. As a matter of fact, I went into a store. I was getting ready to buy this, I don't know, like gizmo thing that held my door to the wall. It was like an elaborate hinging system. And they said, you don't need that. And that's expensive. Buy this. It saved me money. I thought, wow.
I appreciate that.
And basically they're more interested in taking care of me than we're just making a sale that day.
So they're focused on you, the customer, and what helps your bottom line and betters your life instead of what betters their bottom line.
Right. But when you come in and you say, I need a can of paint, they don't point you to the paint department. They ask you, what are you painting? And what type of paint do you need? Oh, and by the way, do you need brushes? And that's more than, do you want fries with that hamburger?
It's taking a real interest in you as the customer.
Because they would like to upsell or cross-sell you, but they're doing it because you need it, not because they want to make money on it. And ultimately they will, but here's why. They don't want you to go home and say, oh, I wish I would have thought of the drop cloth. Darn it. Okay, now I have to go back. They want to make sure you leave with everything.
So they're trying to anticipate your needs.
Exactly, and that's part of being helpful.
Okay, obviously I'm sure it's involved in the 52 tools. Let's talk first, though, about 7 amazement principles in the book, specifically the distinction between the moment of magic and the moment of misery.
Ooh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this.
So, I mean, the 7 amazement principles are the basic tenets of what I have been writing about for years. And it starts with a moment of truth, which is the interaction that you have with a customer. Jan Carlson from Scandinavian Airlines wrote a book back in the 80s titled Moments of Truth. And it was all about when a customer comes into contact with any aspect of your business, they form an impression.
Right.
Is it going to be good or bad? And I've identified names for the good and the bad. Moments of magic are good. Moments of misery are bad. So misery is obvious. You know what that is. It's a complaint. It's a problem. There's also, by the way, one in the middle. There's the moment of mediocrity. That's just average. And, you know, unfortunately, most of the companies that we do business with are just average. But the good ones are creating moments of magic. And those are positive moments of truth. But the key is, and don't think of a moment of magic, by the way, as something that's over the top. Wow, it's better than average. That's it, just a little better than average. But the best companies, the ones that are amazing, do it all of the time. They're consistent. And it's that consistency, Ace, and some of the other companies that are on that top 10 list and other lists as well. They are consistently and predictably better than average.
And you go on to explore, we should say, 5 tactical areas of customer amazement. So I want to briefly go through those. First, you say leadership. You mentioned that everyone is in leadership when it comes to customer service.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
If you're the top manager, CEO, or if you're the newest hired employee, you can be a leader. If you're brought in, you have the right attitude, they train you properly, they being the company, and you're out there and you're doing your job well, other people will say, oh, look at him or her. Look, they are just doing a great job. And that's kind of a leadership position. You own that. As a matter of fact, the very first tool in the book of the 52 is act like an owner. Anybody can act like a leader. Anybody can act like an owner. They just have to step up and do it.
And that's key, obviously, in customer service. Culture is another one you mentioned. Tell me about that.
Well, I think the DNA, and this especially is important for the C-suite, customer service has to be entrenched into the DNA of any company. And where does it start? It starts at the top. And it can't be a do as I say, not as I do mentality. It has to be one where the C-level people will actually just not only define what the culture should be, but then they actually communicate it, they disseminate it, as I say, they deploy it with training, they demonstrate it themselves.
Do you find that a lot of C-suite executives are not doing that?
Well, unfortunately, some aren't, but the best are. If you go into, let's take one of the best companies, I'm sure you're a customer of theirs. Where do you buy your shoes? Anywhere online? Perhaps a place that starts with a Z?
Zappos?
Zappos.com has an amazing culture. As a matter of fact, they talk about wowing the customer. And you want to know what wows them? Sure, they surprise and delight their customers. But more impressively, you don't have bad experiences with them. They are consistently and predictably better than average. And it started with Tony Hsieh, who said, hey, I'm going to start this company. Started small. He doesn't have, the guy sold his company for close to $1 billion.
Wow.
That's a lot of money. And you want to know where he sits? He sits in a cubicle in the middle of everybody in the marketing department, and anybody can come up and talk to him. He doesn't like doors on offices. He likes to be accessible. He likes to model the behavior that everybody is supposed to deliver. And I think that's a perfect example. Now, that may be to an extreme. Let's talk about another one. He's no longer with us, Walt Disney. Walt Disney built up a great empire. Walt Disney had something he called stooping to excellence. And this is great for anybody, let alone especially, people in leadership.
Sounds like an oxymoron. How can you stoop to excellence?
Well, but here's what he did.
He proved that it could be done.
When he walked in, and just as any executive, when they're walking through the building, all eyes are on that leader.
Right.
Correct? Well, all eyes are on Walt Disney when he walked into the theme park. And if he saw a piece of paper on the ground, he would stoop down, stooping to excellence, pick it up, and throw it away. Because that's what he had to do to demonstrate what everybody else should do. If he walked by it, he gave permission for everyone else to walk by it. So in a sense, he is demonstrating at the highest level what should be done.
Right. That's key. Obviously, it worked for him. So if you're a C-suite executive who's not employing these techniques, you better start.
Right.
Because it can only help. What about community? How does community fit into customer service?
Well, the belief is, and ACE's belief is to give back to the community. But there's two sides of this. I believe that you want to build out your community. You want to get to know your community. You want to be entrenched in your community. So even if you're national or global in scale, you can still be local in feel. Give you an example. Applebee's is what's their tagline? The neighborhood.
Welcome to the neighborhood?
Yeah, your neighborhood bar and grill,
Right.
neighborhood restaurant, whatever. And that's what, even though they're this big national chain that had hundreds and hundreds of restaurants, they wanted you to have a local feel. And I think that's what any company and any business can do. If I'm a large grocery store chain and I have stores in Florida, and then I have stores in New York. I think the stores in Florida, especially if in Miami, might have a little bit more Cuban flair to it. I might carry different items than I might up in the store. So I'm going to be conscious of that. So I'm going to build out my community. I'm going to know my community. I want to communicate with my community. Really important with social media. But then there's another side of it, and that's the altruistic side. That's the charitable side. That's the giving back to community. One of the things that ACE loves to do, and any company should emulate themselves here to ACE, is that in a time of need, they're there. Hurricane, storm, they'll stay open 24 hours a day, they're always open, typically 7 days a week, but they'll stay open all night.
You've discussed a little bit about why we need to amaze customers, but why is it so important to amaze other businesses, Shep?
Well, when you say amaze other businesses, I believe if you want to be a benchmark for others, and you should be, if you want to be recognized as a leader, I mean, customers from a consumer standpoint come in, but businesses do businesses, some business other times with other businesses. So you do want to impress them the same as any other customer. You want to create that reputation. I think there's another world that we want to impress. If we want to impress our customers at a consumer level, businesses in the B2B level, we also want to impress our employees. I think we really need to work on that culture and really focus on it. From the high up level of a company, it needs to be defined and it needs to be communicated crystal clear. And then we need to live it. We need to live it internally. What's happening on the inside of an organization is being felt on the outside by the customer. It's that simple.
Final thought, Shep, for someone, a business leader out there who is already amazing customers, why should they read your book?
Just because. It's great. No, it will change your life. Here's the thing about books. I think it's Charles Tremendous Jones, famous speaker and author, once said, 5 years from now, the only difference in your life is going to be the people you hang around with and the books that you read. He said something like that. And I think that is so appropriate. So what we're looking for in the book is this book is not going to change your life. This book is not going to change the company overnight. This book is going to give you an idea or two, or maybe 52 ideas. Because I suggest if you use the book the right way, once a week, take one of these 52 ideas and share it with your team.
Over the course of a year.
Right, next year. And then like a good shampoo, you wash, you rinse, and you repeat. And you do it again year after year. So you've got something to talk about and focus on. But once a week, you put an idea of service. So even if it's not the greatest idea that you can implement, you're still constantly talking about customer service. This is a tool to do that. This book is actually to be, as we mentioned earlier, used, not just read. So the idea behind that, if why read this book? Well, again, any book. If you can get one idea, just one gem, it could change an awful lot. It could make things better. The payoff is exponential.
Well, Shep, we're out of time, but thank you so much. This is really an amazing read, and I say that pun intended because it truly is.
Thank you very much.
Like you said, if you can gain one new thing, it's going to amaze your customers. So thank you again for your time. And if you'd like to find out more about Shep or the book, check out our website. It's c-suitebookclub.com, c-suitebookclub.com. Thanks for joining us here on Bestseller TV. We'll see you next time. And thank you again.
Thank you.